Have you ever wondered why fate dictated that you were born in a particular month and not another? As if time itself chose the perfect moment for your soul to enter this world, shrouded in mysteries and opportunities. As Carl Jung asserted, all the elements surrounding us at the moment of birth carry profound meaning and symbolism. The heavens, climatic conditions, season, and even the archetypes in motion form an invisible backdrop that leaves an indelible imprint on our psyche. This isn't about superficial horoscopes found in magazines, but about living symbols and collective images that shape not only our temperament but also the innermost challenges and potentials hidden within our souls. Being born in January is fundamentally different from being born in July. Each month possesses its unique frequency, each season unlocks its distinct portal of opportunities. And the most amazing thing is that many of our mysterious character traits can be explained and understood in light of the time when we first saw this world. Carl Jung was convinced that our story begins long before we utter our first words, and that the moment of birth contains invisible keys to understanding each person's mission. Perhaps that is why in ancient cultures, birth was seen not merely as a physical event, but as a spiritual ceremony, marking the arrival of what the world needs. What if your birth was exactly like that? What if you came into this world precisely when the universe needed what you carry within you? What if the month that welcomed you became the first teacher your soul encountered on this life journey? In this informative video, viewers can discover the symbolic meaning of each month of the year from the perspective of depth psychology. The authors suggest reflecting on the reasons for recurring experiences and inexplicable talents rooted in the depths of the subconscious. As Carl Jung stated, the unconscious aspects of the psyche govern a person's life like fate, but awareness of these forces can become a powerful tool for transformation. Viewers are invited to prepare for the awakening of memories stored in the soul since birth. Jung believed that there is no room for chance in human life. The moment of birth is determined not by the passage of time, but by symbolic precision. In analytical psychology, time is not a straight line, but an archetypal space. Each season, each natural cycle, carries collective images that influence the psyche from the first moments of life. A newborn does not enter a neutral environment, but a world filled with hidden meanings. Climatic conditions, the length of daylight, and the energy of natural cycles all form a symbolic field that addresses the newly arrived soul. Carl Jung defined this as primary archetypal impressions, implying sensory and spiritual experiences that have an implicit but profound impact on our perception of life. Summer heat, for example, is imprinted on us as a symbol of courage and audacity, while winter cold awakens a tendency towards self-analysis and introspection. Spring is associated with renewal and rebirth, and autumn with fading, letting go of the old, and transformation. Moreover, the cycle of 12 months in their inextricable connection with nature and the archetypes of the collective unconscious forms a kind of mandala, a symbolic wheel that turns directly to the innermost corners of our soul. Jung viewed archetypes as universal models inherent in the human psyche, such as the warrior, healer, sage, divine child, destroyer, and lover. Each month of the year carries one or more of these forces, which are particularly pronounced in people born under its influence. Realizing this allows us to understand that our birth is a kind of symbolic mark, a silent sign that influences our talents, our sufferings, and even the life paths we stubbornly repeat, not always realizing the reasons. The purpose of this approach is not to confine the individual within rigid frameworks or limit their self-expression, but to offer symbolic keys to understanding deep patterns that may have been felt since childhood but have not found their explanation. Carl Jung did not seek ready-made answers. He was interested in true questions, and perhaps the oldest of them, why was I born at this particular time? The author suggests going through this symbolic circle of months together, hoping that along the way the reader will be able to discover dormant parts within themselves that were only waiting for a symbolic reflection to awaken to life. Birth is not merely the act of entering the physical world. It's like crossing a threshold, a transition from the realm of the unseen into the concrete dimension of human existence. The newborn carries an inner burden, felt at a deep level, yet often unnoticed by others. Carl Jung viewed birth as a pivotal stage in the formation of personality, a moment when consciousness takes physical form, bringing predispositions that may flourish or wither depending on life's circumstances. Each birth occurs within a specific symbolic context, shaped not only by the physical body but also by time. In depth psychology, time is not just a chronological scale, but a reflection of the collective unconscious. The month of a person's birth carries a symbolic aura, imprinting on their psychic structure. At that moment, one inhales the archetypes of that period, influencing them throughout life. Jung emphasized understanding time's symbolism to grasp the human soul. Looking back reveals the wisdom of ancient civilizations, which recognized that each season is imbued with unique energy. It's no wonder that various spiritual teachings revered the calendar as a sacred schema of the universe, with each month as a gateway to another dimension and each annual cycle as a rite of initiation. The moment of birth is imprinted with the unique vibrations of the surrounding world, the phase of nature's development, and the harmony of earth, sky, and water. Whether in silence or noise, all of this embraces the newborn, endowing them with a unique, symbolic language. Conscious memory may not retain these moments, but the soul keeps them in its depths. Carl Jung asserted that individuation, becoming oneself, requires re-evaluating this starting point. Birth should be seen not as a random event, but as a call, a destiny. The birth month doesn't define one's essence, but offers clues to who they are meant to become. Therefore, the author proposes a journey through the 12 months of the year, viewing them as living archetypes, symbolic mirrors reflecting parts of the personality that have always been felt, but never explained. Often people don't need new knowledge, but the chance to recall what has lived within them since their first breath. In January and February, as the southern hemisphere basks in summer sunlight, nature displays its peak vitality. Those born during this time absorb the energy of the flourishing earth. The southern summer, with its abundance and creative potential, imbues those born at this time with a special energy of presence. January, like the archetype of the doer, endows its representatives with the will to realize. Similar to how Carl Jung viewed the start of each cycle as a moment of projecting will into the world, those born in January are driven and drawn to action. They can be silent leaders or bright provocateurs, but they almost always attract attention. The burden of January lies in expectation and the desire for immediate results, even when rest is needed. However, their strength lies in their ability to mobilize, turn ideas into reality, and forge new paths where others see only hopelessness. February, in contrast, is colored by different tones of the summer season. It's a month of free flows and abundant rains, a time of preparation for the changing seasons. Born in February, between the elements of fire and water, they embody the archetype of the intuitive creator. These sensitive and creative individuals possess quick minds and deep feelings. They live, perceiving the world with heightened senses, grasping the unspoken and foreseeing the yet-to-be revealed. As Jung stated, intuition is one of the highest forms of intelligence, and February vibrates on this frequency. The challenge for them is adapting to staticity and predictability, and their shadow can be distraction and emotional instability. But their light is subtle genius, rich imagination, and the ability to see beauty where others do not. While January sows seeds, February indulges in dreams. Both months bring forth people under the zenith sun, but each learns to cope with its light in their own way. Perhaps that is why those born at this time possess great strength, but their true flourishing comes when they learn to rest without guilt and create without losing themselves in the process. March and April herald a change of scenery in the annual cycle. After the sultry breath of summer, autumn relentlessly approaches, bringing with it a call for symbolic solitude and self-analysis. As the insightful Carl Jung stated, the nature surrounding us is a treasure trove of wisdom, teaching the human psyche the deep rhythms of existence. Autumn, in turn, appears as a period of transformation, renunciation of the obsolete, and achievement of maturity, A person born in March is endowed with the archetype of an emotional alchemist, capable of feeling the world at an incredibly deep level, yet not losing themselves in the abyss of emotions. These individuals possess a unique ability to transform, purify, and transmute both their own experiences and the energy around them. March, like a border territory between the bright light of summer and the contemplative introspection of autumn, endows those born in this month with a duality of nature. They can be both expansive and silent, radiating sunny warmth and delving into deep reflections. It seems as if their very soul has taught them from childhood to accept the changeability of life and to see beauty in impermanence. However, their shadow side manifests in difficulties, asserting their own position and a tendency to waver between extremes. At the same time, their bright qualities are flexibility, developed artistic sensitivity, and refined emotional intelligence. April, in turn, brings with it the freshness of cool mornings and a softer, muted glow of the autumn sun. This month is marked by the archetype of the guardian of essence. A person born in April, without even realizing the reasons, feels their purpose in caring for something sacred. This sacred thing can be family, the silence of solitude, or one's own soul. April natures value their roots and traditions, but at the same time feel an internal impulse for change and development. Jung would probably characterize them as people living in harmony between structure and freedom, between memory of the past and aspiration to rebirth. Their pain lies in the fear of losing control of the situation, and their shadow side manifests in emotional rigidity and resistance to everything new. However, their bright qualities are depth of feeling, loyalty to their principles, and a spiritual vision for the long term. March still feels the echoes of the departing summer, while April is already listening to the quiet whisper of the approaching winter. And those who are born in this transitional period possess a rare gift, the ability to perceive both what is fading into oblivion and what is only beginning to bloom and gain strength. May and June appear as a kind of corridor of solitude in the annual cycle. The summer heat gradually recedes, the foliage begins its dance of falling, and nature plunges into a state of rest, preparing to accumulate strength for the most introspective period. It is believed that a person born at this time learns from an early age the art of being content with what is necessary. May is associated with the archetype of the silent creator. These are individuals who realize that everything lasting requires time, patience, and strong roots. They are not attracted to fleeting brilliance, but are deeply touched by the reliability of simple actions. As Carl Jung noted, "True value lies not in brilliance, but in support." Those born in May are usually the ones who unobtrusively support the world around them. Their pain is the feeling of invisibility, their shadow is the attachment to predictability and fear of change, and their light is a firm presence, practical wisdom, and deep generosity. May is a symbol of the earth, and a person born under this sign learns to grow with confidence and peace in their heart. June, in turn, opens the gates to winter. The daylight hours shorten, the temperature drops, and the outside world slows down. Carl Jung argued that this natural movement promotes immersion in the unconscious, allowing one to see what the consciousness could not perceive in the summer period. Therefore, those born in June often carry the archetype of the guardian of the invisible. They prefer to observe rather than speak, to feel before acting, and to keep secrets, emotions, and visions that they cannot always express. June endows with rare, symbolic intelligence, the ability to see the hidden, hear the unspoken, and perceive what lies beyond the obvious. Their pain is inner loneliness and a feeling of misunderstanding. Their shadow is excessive isolation and fear of being exposed, and their light is sharp intuition, psychic sensitivity, and a calling to sacred silence. May builds the foundation for the future, and June foresees what is to come. Both months teach that for a new bloom it is necessary to accept solitude as an integral part of the life cycle. The soul born in this period is not afraid of silence, but transforms it into wisdom. In the midst of winter, when July and August plunge into silence, nature seems to freeze in anticipation. Trees become bare, streets empty under the onslaught of icy wind, creating an atmosphere conducive to deep self-analysis and contemplation. During this period, the world slows down, opening new horizons for those who are willing to listen to its quiet whisper. People born in July are marked from their earliest days by a transformative solitude. July is the archetype of the silent healer, capable of healing simply by being present. As Carl Jung stated, the soul finds clarity in moments of deep introspection, and July provides the perfect opportunity to delve into one's inner world. July-born children possess an almost extrasensory sensitivity, perceiving what goes unnoticed by others, foreseeing future events. They are gentle and caring, though they don't flaunt their feelings, showing sensitivity and attention to everything around them. Their main pain is excessive susceptibility and the inability to cope with overwhelming emotions. The shadow side of July people is the desire to hide in order not to burden others, and a tendency to hold on to others' grievances as their own. But their bright side is deep empathy, the ability to heal with their presence, and intuitive wisdom. July is the soul that warms in silence, the human warmth so necessary in the coldest month of the year. August, in turn, is endowed with a completely different force. In this month, the frost is still strong, but the air already holds a barely perceptible promise of the coming spring. August-born children embody the archetype of the spiritual leader. They often face serious trials at an early age, but it is these difficulties that temper their spirit and endow them with extraordinary strength, allowing them to lead others not by word, but by personal example. Carl Jung said that the most significant transformations of the soul occur when confronted with one's own abyss, and August, like no other, knows what an abyss is and knows how to rise from the ashes. Their pain is too early responsibility, the shadow side is pride concealing a fear of dependence, and the bright side is genuine leadership, silent courage, and a calling to protect. July accepts, August awakens, but both months share the same gift: strength born in silence, light breaking through the darkest night, and wisdom that can only be gained by going through the harsh trials of winter. People born at this time carry a map of rebirth in their hearts. Blossoming, they transform the world around them, like heralds of spring without uttering a single word. With the arrival of September and October, the world witnesses the triumphal return of light. After a long winter slumber, nature awakens to life again, as if calling everything around to bloom and grow, and those who are born during this period carry the same impulse to flourish. September gives the world the archetype of the harmonizer. As Carl Jung stated, the process of individuation of the personality strives for integration, which is impossible without achieving balance. People born in September feel the burden of duality from a young age, torn between reason and feelings, freedom and duty, external beauty and inner depth. These individuals possess an incredibly developed sense of beauty, noticing the smallest details and striving for order in everything. However, they also suffer from their own, often excessively high standards and demands on themselves. They are natural mediators, able to see both sides of the coin, even when others notice nothing but one. That is why they often suffer the fate of being misunderstood by those around them. Striving for harmony, they often live in a state of inner tension. Their main pain lies in striving for perfection as a way to earn love and recognition. In the shadows, they tend to hide their pain just to maintain peace and the appearance of well-being. But their light is a heightened sense of justice, a subtle understanding of the human soul, and the ability to restore balance where only chaos and discord reign. September blossoms with the splendor of colors, but its true strength lies in the gentle and tender support of life in all its manifestations. October, coming into its own, not only enhances sensitivity but also adds to it a powerful magnetism of attachment. A person born under the sign of October embodies the archetype of the soulmate seeker, and this is not just superficial romance, but a desire to see in every interaction a deep reflection of their essence. In the spirit of Carl Jung's teachings, October natures are acutely aware that our projections onto others highlight those aspects of ourselves that we are not yet ready to acknowledge. These people possess irresistible charm and a generous, loving heart, but at the same time, they are particularly sensitive to the pain of rejection and betrayal. They seem to balance on the verge between the desire for self-sacrifice and the fear of dissolving in another person. Their vulnerability lies in their ability to love without reservation, forgetting their own needs. The shadow side of their nature can manifest in emotional manipulations dictated by the fear of losing control. However, in their best form, October souls are capable of creating truly deep and authentic connections, transforming through relationships and healing emotional wounds through sincere encounters. While September strives for harmony, October craves depth in relationships. Both months mark a period of nature's rebirth, and people born at this time are like living gardens, full of beauty. But like gardens, they require care and attention, because in their depths, in addition to beautiful flowers, lie roots that store the most cherished and tender stories of the soul. November and December are not just the final chords of the calendar year, but rather symbolic gates, marking completion and revelation. During this period, nature seems to prepare for a new awakening, while the human soul holds the rich experience of the past year. As Carl Jung noted, completions are not the opposite of beginnings, but represent their mature form. A person born at this time is endowed with a special gift and simultaneously faces a challenge: the ability to cope with what is receding into the past and what is just beginning to emerge. November carries the archetype of a deep transformer. It is the month when spring reaches its peak, but at the same time heralds the approaching summer. It is a time of rich, mature colors that have already experienced both warmth and fragility. A person born in November usually has a deep soul, is not satisfied with the superficial, and strives to know the essence of things, to penetrate into the depths where few dare to look. These people, by their very presence, are capable of initiating transformations, because where they appear, something inevitably changes, even in silence. Jung argued that these people are driven by depth, but this is also associated with serious trials, the need to cope with losses, rebirths, and failures. The pain lies in the constant feeling of tearing. The shadow side manifests in attachment to emotional control, fear of trusting. The light side is in the ability to regenerate, heal deep traumas, and lead others through processes of symbolic death and rebirth. December, in turn, carries the spirit of completion and the radiance of a new beginning. It is a month of synthesis, celebration, and wisdom, which only the passage of time reveals. A person born in December stands with one foot in the present and the other already on the horizon of the future. These are expansive, far-sighted souls, full of faith even after all the trials they have experienced, carrying the archetype of the master traveler. Jung considered these souls to be carriers of ancient knowledge, but with a youthful spirit. They are eternal seekers, students of life, mentors hiding under the mask of dreamers. Their pain lies in a sense of misunderstanding, in the unbearable burden of great expectations. The shadow side manifests in a tendency to escape through distraction, in promises that are difficult to fulfill. The light side is in bright generosity, spontaneous wisdom, faith that inspires others. November delves into the depths, December lights the light, and together they complete the year, reminding us of the cyclical nature of the soul, that nothing disappears without a trace, but only transforms, and that sometimes we are born at the end to learn to lead others to their new beginnings. Perhaps now comes the realization that the month of birth is not just a formal mark on the calendar, but a deep symbol, a call of fate, an archetypal space where the soul made a conscious choice to embody, with all the diversity of gifts, trials, dark and light sides. Carl Jung, the great explorer of the human psyche, taught that each person carries an invisible map of life, and the true meaning of existence is revealed when we learn to read this map with the discerning gaze of the soul. Time is not just a series of events, it is a mirror reflecting our essence. And when a person comprehends the symbolic atmosphere of their birth, a certain alignment occurs within, as if an ancient, forgotten part of their being finally finds its voice and says, "Now you have heard me." The truth is that no one is born by chance. Everyone is called at a certain moment in time, comes at the very frequency at which the world desperately needs the unique gift that only they can bring. And even if there has been a feeling of restlessness, perhaps this was because the mission is not to dissolve into the crowd, but to remember, to awaken the dormant memories of the soul, to feel the rhythm that vibrates deep inside, to remember the time of year that witnessed the birth and that still pulsates in the blood. A person is not just January, March, August, or November. They are the very breath that came with them, a bridge between heaven and earth in the sacred moment of birth. And if this feeling arose, even for a moment, perhaps the process of awakening what was dormant inside has begun. After all, the month of birth is just a starting point, the beginning of a fascinating conversation, and the most beautiful part of the story is what a person intends to create with this knowledge in the future.